Hey everyone, it's Deke. Let's do some Crusader Fractured Plane today. Looks like we've got continual damage increased by 50%. We've got Punish, Sacred Chains, Conjuration of Light, Sweeping Strike, and Shield Glare. Kind of weird setup of skills there, but Conjuration of Light will be good because one of the issues with Fractured Plane for melee is just there are some things that some damage that's simply unavoidable, like you can't dodge it. So having bubble is a pretty good thing here. This first room is like a great example of how difficult these things can be for melee, because these things right here, like if you're standing near them, they drop this slowing AoE damage on top of you. So you can see how long it's taken me to clear this room. And this, look, it's looking like with Sacred Chains and Sweeping Strike actually do have a little bit of ranged, and even the Shield Glare does damage, which is nice, and then I can use Bubble and go in and get these. But there have been runs where I've done Fractured Plane, and this room takes, 3-4 minutes because the skills are so bad and you have no damage when you start. It's just kind of ridiculous. So one thing you need to kind of think about when you're doing Fractured Plane is you can't just run and tank everything. You have to kite as much as possible. The idea here is to take as little damage as possible. Early on, you want to try to fill every item slot that you can. So if you get a new piece of gear from a room, if it's a new item slot, just take it, even if it's not the skill you want to play. You'll see it in this run. I basically take a bunch of totally random things that I'm not really crazy about. That's kind of the fun of Fractured Plane too, is that you will play a bunch of skills that you don't ever really play typically, and that can be pretty fun. Like this run for me was actually really fun, but there have been some Fractured Plane runs that are so difficult and so frustrating because the skills and essences that are available to you are just simply bad. So here I get Suspended Rule, which makes Sweeping Strike throw a tornado in a line, and it damages everything and picks up enemies and moves them back. I've never even used this essence. It actually seems like a cool essence for PvP if, there were room for it, but I've actually never used it. So I found in this run that it was actually pretty effective with Sacred Chains and with all the different CC options available to me. I was basically just, for the first half of the run, just crowd controlling everything over and over. But you can see this is another one of these rooms with these like ooze things. Man, they're really, really annoying to play against. But, luckily I did get a weapon, so that increased my damage. There's damage on 4 of the items. The helm, actually maybe it's 3 of the items. The helm, the weapon, and the shield. No, also the shoulders. Shoulders have damage as well. So there's 2 items with life and 4 items with damage. So one thing that I think people miss out a little bit is that every single item has its own damage or life value. They're not all identical, so you need to look at that. It's not just the power and the star rating that you're increasing on the gear, you're also increasing that damage or life value. So sometimes you'll get an item that is actually a downgrade because the damage or life value is lower, even though it has a higher star rating. So as you kind of progress through the deeper levels, you want to be looking at that damage and life value and increasing that as you go. So I'm hitting these mobs with Sacred Chains, I'm blinding them, then I'm throwing my tornado through, and then I drop Bubble and kind of stand in and finish things up. So this, I've already seen as soon as this run kind of gets going here, that this build is actually pretty decent for trash clears. But I know that in Fractured, one of the most difficult things are going to be the bosses, especially the late game bosses. And I'm keeping in mind as I go here that there's a 50% continual damage buff, right? So I'm actually thinking, okay, I need to be building mid to late game. I want to start building for that continual damage build. And I know since we have Sweeping Strike that there's a channeled version of that, which is actually a really fun skill. I used to play it at the start of the game. When the game launched, I really liked that build for Crusader. Unfortunately, it's not that viable, I don't think, without the Trick Shot Gem. And if you're using the Trick Shot Gem, you know, you might be gimping your resonance a little bit. But anyway, I know that that skill is channeled, right? I also know that Conjuration of Light has the Justice Without Favor chest, which gives me another channeled skill. But I don't actually want to take that chest early because I really want to keep Bubble to protect myself from a lot of this just ranged and AoE damage that happens. Like I said, as a melee class in Fractured, there's so much unavoidable damage. So I want to take advantage of having Conjuration of Light and that bubble to mitigate all that damage as much as possible as I run. So you'll see here my first choice. I could take attack speed here, which is good, but I end up going for the continual ground damage. Even though I don't have anything in my kit currently that's doing that, I want to go ahead and pre-plan that I'm going to be building something that can be a boss killer and take advantage of the damage buff of the overall experience here. The most difficult thing about these are these like ranged guys. You'll see here, like, you can't get them to run into a group. You have to kind of kill those individually. The skeletons are not too bad because they're pretty weak. So, okay, it took me 3 primary attacks to kill a skeleton there. Okay, so see, I have Justice Without Favor here. Now, I don't think I'm going to choose it. And the reason I don't take that is because I don't want to give up my protection early on. I want to get Justice Without Favor, but I want to get it later in the game. Once I'm really strong and I have like a good weapon and a lot of damage, and I have more of the continual damage build going. For now, I'm seeing that there's some really good crowd control and damage mitigation essences with these skills, so I'm really just building around that. So here's another one, Gaze of the Worth. That will make Shield Glare do a burn. So see, I'm actually checking that. Do I want that? So I know that I do want that helm eventually. If I can get a late game version, a 4 or 5 star version of that, I'm probably going to go for it. My tactic you'll see in every room is that unless it's just mostly ranged, I run around in a big circle to try to group everything in one space and then blow it all up together. Now, I pop my ultimate here. Usually you want to pop your ultimate for the shield, right? Like, I know I'm about to take a lot of damage because there's these spitting zombies and I have a blue pack. So I go ahead and burn my ultimate for the shield and to try to do as much damage as I can quickly. I will pin a comment that has a visual text version of the map for Fractured Plain. It's the same every time, and in order to get an under 30-minute perfect run, you need to follow exactly the rooms that you need to get to the portal fast. Like, you can't go to every room. It's going to make you weaker overall because you're not going to have as many coins and you're not going to have as many gear upgrades, but it's, at least on melee, impossible to get it done in under 30 minutes if you don't skip all those rooms. So like I said, I'll put that text map in the comments below, so you can use that as a resource. Keep it up on your second screen or wherever, tab, and look at it so that you know where you're going, and you want to just choose the fastest path to the portal every single time. Man, I hate these mobs where you finish the pack and then they spawn all these mobs out of the, like, you know, corpses or whatever, and you have to kill them, because if you don't kill them, they'll sit there and kill you while you're trying to loot your chest. So there, I'm checking my map. Like I said, I'm looking on my other screen. I'm looking at the text map, showing me which direction that I need to go in. Yeah, these mobs are really difficult to deal with, because not only do they have they're like super tanks, they have so much health, they also spawn all these little guys out of their bodies when they die. And of course, there's also archers shooting you while you're trying to kite this stuff around. But you can see it's a lot of like, jab and run style play here. Okay, so look at all these mobs. Now I have to clear all this stuff before I can finish the room, because they'll just sit there and beat on you while you're trying to loot. Kind of annoying. So here I'm just going for basically stats. So star power, I'm trying to upgrade. Basically, the overall strategy I'm using is that I'm trying to upgrade my tiers. So you can get to tier 10, right? With the coins, you buy tier upgrades so that higher star items will drop out of your chests. So my strategy with Fractured is always to rank that up as fast as possible while still taking upgrades every time I see them, right? So if I have a higher star upgrade in a chest, I'm going to take that over the coins. Now, you do get some coins back when you sell your old gear, but it's very minimal. I think I don't even know if it's 25% of the value back. So if there's not a really clear upgrade in the chest, you want to take the coins so that you can upgrade your stars faster. And another thing that you're going to have to think about when you're doing these timed runs, if you're trying to get all your loot rewards, in order to get the final loot reward, right? So you're trying to get, I think, 3 legendaries and a green item. In order to get all of those in one run, you need to do it in under 30 minutes and with 1 death maximum. And in order to do that, you're going to have to move pretty quickly. You're not going to have a lot of time to think about your build, and you're also not going to have a lot of time to compare stats. So you're going to have to kind of move faster than you would want to in order to do this. Like I said, also skipping any additional rooms. You basically just want to get to the portal room is in the straightest line possible. I got pretty lucky on the bosses here. There's a couple of tough bosses, but I think I got pretty lucky on a couple of the bosses, which it makes a huge difference. If you get really unlucky on the bosses and you get, say, like Sand Shaper and what's the big snake with the poison? If you get those bosses, it's much more difficult than bosses like this, where, this boss is basically a free boss. I don't even know if I take damage on this boss, and maybe take a little bit of damage from those ads throwing fireballs at me, but that's about it. So you just kind of got to get good at micromanaging your character movement. So here it looks like the best choice is going to be skill cooldowns. I don't have any summons, and I didn't see what the other one was, but yeah, skill cooldowns are going to be good, obviously, because I'm doing this kind of CC build anyway, so the more frequently I can get that up, the better. You can see I'm just ramping up. I'm just buying the rank ups every single time. And the only time I heal is if I'm like under 75%, I'll probably buy the heal if I can afford it. But the way I want to play is to just not take damage. And you can see these guys are really, really difficult for Crusaders as well. The guys that blow darts, anything that's ranged, spits poison, are very, very difficult for melee classes. So it looks like I'm getting a helm upgrade here. This is going to make Sacred Chains pull stuff together. That's even a better crowd control effect for me. And Sacred Chains is not like the greatest skill. It does some damage, but you can see that I've gotten the freeze on it now, which makes it insanely strong. The freeze is the best version of Sacred Chains because you can continually damage them while they're locked in place. So if you see the frozen chains option, you definitely want to get that for this build. But you can see I have to do a lot of kiting. I can't just go in and burn them down. I got really lucky there and got a health globe, which is amazing when you're fighting a blue and a gold pack. And I'm just chain CCing this guy. So this, I think right here is where I kind of see like, oh wow, this setup of essences with these skills is actually pretty effective because I'm able to kind of lock this gold down and not let him hit me. And usually when you have a room like that with a gold and a blue pack, you will get a health globe or two. Now you might get super unlucky and not get one, but typically you do. So you can see here, I'm taking an upgrade again. It's the same helm I just got, but it's a 4-star. So you want to increase your items star power as much as you can. Now you are at the mercy of what items you get. If you have a run where you do not get a weapon, which I've had before, it is almost impossible. And I think I'm still on a tier 1 weapon right now, which is making it pretty difficult for me to clear packs. These guys right here blow fire, and without this chain CC build that I'm doing, they just about kill you every time. So blind, I wait until blind comes out, then I bubble, then I throw my chain or my sweeping strike. I mean, it's just, you just have to chain CC mobs like this. Okay, so I just got another upgrade, same thing. This is the Sacred Chains shoulders. That freeze. So same thing, I'm looking here, I'm trying to see, I really shouldn't be wasting this time looking. I should have just straight upgraded and not even looked at that. But I was trying to see, because I wasn't actually familiar with a couple of the icons for those helms. I was like, what do these helms actually do? Surprisingly, even after playing Crusader for, a year, I don't know every single essence by its icon. I have to kind of look at them. There's only so many essences you really use in builds. There's just so many essences that are not very good in the game. It would be nice if they do some reworks on. I know they did have, I think in this latest patch, they did do some reworks on some older items, which is good, but I don't think they were dramatic enough to really make a lot of the items viable. So you can see, same thing here, we're trying to methodically chain our CCs and protection together. And it's working really well. I didn't even take damage on that pull. Okay, now I see a 4-star Justice without favor, and here's where I start changing my build. So this is another thing they need to fix. Like, you can't even equip this until your skill cooldowns go down, which wastes some time. I'm starting to look at the continual damage thing now, but it's going to actually get harder for me before it gets easier, because now I don't have bubble. And when you get on these big packs like this, you do tend to take some damage. So that pack went well. I didn't take any damage there. Looks like, again, just getting a star upgrade, checking to see if there's anything that makes sense to change, but there's not. Looks like my shield is still pretty low. But overall, I'd say I'm getting a pretty consistent upgrade path. And the reason I'm doing that, there is some luck involved, obviously. Like I said, if you get items. Okay, so there I saw that I had a 4-star upgrade of my shield. So obviously I'm going to take that because I'm at a 2-star. The way to somewhat guarantee a consistent build path is to continually get upgrades of your shop. Because if you can get your shop upgraded, you have such a higher chance. Wow, I can't believe I got hit by that, actually. This is a boss I typically can do without taking any damage. This, again, another very easy boss. So I got pretty lucky. And you can see I'm not really doing a ton of damage. My damage is pretty low because again, the only continual effect that I'm even running now is this Justice Without Favor Conjuration. And it's not really the highest damage skill, so I mean, I can tell it's ticking pretty strong with that 50% bonus. Yeah, so I'm kind of in this middle ground. So here, 20% damage, always take that. Just if you see 20% damage with no negatives, take it. That's the best crystal you can get. So I can't upgrade here, so I'm gonna just take a look. Is there something I can do? I don't want to play Closing Jaws or whatever it's called there. I don't think that's a good build. I like what my sweep is doing. And now what I'm actually looking for is I'm looking for the channeling sweep, which I haven't seen yet, but it is what I want. And again, with all this channeled damage, it's going to be strong in terms of damage, but you're going to take more damage because you're still going to have to be in the middle of all the mobs to hit them. So again, I use my ultimate there as a way to get a shield, some mitigation, and just try to CC and then take out those blue packs. Anytime you have elite packs, you know, you want to try to have a good strategy for how you're going to take those down. Honestly, in these goblin rooms, I know it looks cool, but I really hate goblin rooms because they take a lot of time. So actually on this one, I just decide I'm going to kill this one side of the room and I'm going to let everything else just despawn. Because I don't, and then this guy wouldn't despawn, so I actually have to go back and kill him. But really the most annoying thing about these goblin rooms is they just take a long time, and so they're eating up your timer. I think I did get 5 or 6 of them down, but there have been builds that I've gotten in the past where I was able to clear one of those rooms, which is nuts. Okay, so you can see here, this is going to be a hard room for me. We got a gold and a blue, and I don't have bubble anymore, right? So I'm gonna have to try to CC and then get out as much damage as I can. And now all my stuff's on cooldown. So I got a kite. So this is another good reason why taking that 15% cooldown instead of one of the other options. Just because I'm kind of cooldown dependent in this CC style build. And it actually went really well. I was very surprised on this run at how effective this CC style build was. Okay, so now I get a weapon upgrade. So it looks like I did have a 3-star. I thought I had stayed on 2 for a little longer. I'm keeping with this suspended rule thing with the knock-up tornado, which is actually really fun, surprisingly fun. Like I said, I'd never played the skill before, or this essence before. And it was pretty fun. So that's really the beauty of Fractured Plane, I think, is that you get to kind of experience some stuff in the game that you typically wouldn't. It would be so fun if they would do 4-player versions of this. I remember right when it first came out, me and my buddy Bree, we played together pretty much from launch all through the game, and we actually met in the game, which is crazy. But he and I were always really wanting a multiplayer version of this, and thought that would be really fun, but they never added it, which is a bummer. I think they should expand on some systems like this, because this is like one of the really good modes in the game. It looks like from some of the data mining, we might get like a PvP mode that has a similar setup to this, where you're starting with a preset build. Everybody's on an even playing field. I say even, but I think in those modes, Demon Hunters are going to just own everybody. But yeah, it would be so cool to have this in multiplayer mode. I think that would be more fun. But by this point, I kind of have a system going, right? I'm just CCing stuff and burning it down, and I've got some continual damage with the Justice Without Favor, which is working out pretty well. I missed a skill shot there. Nobody saw that. I take pride in my skill shots. You can see I have an overage of coins at this point. So I'm just leveling up. I'm maxed out, and I still have 500 coins. So I did pretty well in terms of the goblin rooms and that treasure room we just saw. It was a pretty easy treasure room. Some of the treasure rooms are kind of hard, so I did have some decent luck in this run. So This boss can be pretty easy, but here's where I changed to Sweeping Strike, right? I finally got that weapon on like that last chest, and I was like, all right, I'm going to change my build up so that I can make use of this channel damage buff. And I totally underestimated how much harder it was going to be for me to dodge the basics. Obviously, you can't CC the bosses, so my CC portion of my build does nothing here. And then I thought I was going to be really cute here, and I'm like, oh, I can stand in this one spot and I'll dodge all the blood orbs, because I always do this when I'm running Forgotten Tower. Yeah, I didn't dodge any of the blood. I got hit by all of it, and you can see my health bar is low, and now I'm realizing, oh no. With the abilities I have, she attacks so quickly that if you basically don't have move speed, it's very, very hard to micro your character around her autos. You can hear like the little heartbeat sound in the game. And let me tell you, I was pretty worked up in real life as well on this run, because I was thinking to myself like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to be able to show a perfect run Fractured Plane. And then I get here and I realize, no, I'm going to die. And so this is another thing about Fractured Plane that is kind of, it hypes you up, is like, now I know what level we want. We're level 12, right? So I've got to go level 13, level 14, which typically have a decent amount of elites. Then I've got to do the level 15 boss, and I cannot die or I lose my rewards, and I have to do this whole freaking run again. Okay, so I took 40% damage to elites there, which is a really strong power also, because elites and bosses are your hardest enemies. Okay, so here I see an in-game helmet. It's 5 stars. It has a burn, which is damage over time. It's an upgrade. I don't have to think about my helm again. So I go ahead and get my in-game helm going. Okay, this room is extremely hard. These guys with the charge. This room is a room that I have died on many times. I'm pretty confident in this run that the build I have and the amount of damage, crystals with the, just overall buff, the theme buff, whatever it's called, like the 50% continual damage. I'm pretty confident in it because I can CC and then I can just burn out some damage kite. But there have definitely been many, many builds where this room with these mobs just kills me. They hit extremely hard. They're kind of hard to kite around. But I did it here with no problem, so pretty fortunate on this run to have such a strong build. Hopefully, talking through some of these ideas, how I think about this, what types of builds, work, how to micro your character, what mobs are difficult, what the strategy is. Hopefully that helps some of you get all these rewards from Fractured, because it can be quite a challenging mode, which I think is really fun. I think Diablo Immortal needs challenging modes because basically everything in the game is just gated by CR. Okay, so here I see a 5-star pants. This loses my freezing chains, which I hate, but it's actually still pretty strong, and it has a burn on it, which I'm wondering if that works with continual. So I'm like, screw it, let's just take it and go ahead and get the 5-star, get the health value upgrade there on the pants. And it's funny, as I was thinking running through this, every time I would change, like I went with the channeled Sweeping Strike, I went with the Justice Without Favor on the Conjuration, and then I take those chains and I'm like, I hate this build now. I liked it a lot better when I had just super CC and bubble, but I know that I have to build super high damage to get the boss down. I mean, because sometimes if you just don't have super high damage, you can be on a boss for 6 minutes trying to kite and not die. I mean, which means you're going to fail your run based on time. So you have to do everything, right? We're on room 14 here. So just as an overview, in order to get these, perfect runs or, under 30 minutes with 1 death runs done to get all your loot, you need to use a map so that you can skip all the rooms that are unnecessary. You need to move fast and not do tons of comparisons. You kind of either need to have a game plan on what items you're going to use. So maybe you've already done your first run of the week, and then on your second run, you're going to go for your fast run. Or you need to be kind of good on the fly where you can make decisions quickly. You want to upgrade your shop as quickly as possible. I didn't take that 5-star weapon there because I know that that's not a skill that I want. I want to stick with Sweeping Strike to get the channel damage. Even though it is kind of bad in here, to be honest with you. Like, I think it's actually, the channel Sweeping Strike is not a very good skill in these scenarios. Like here you can see this is a really tough room. And now that I have so much less CC and no bubble, I'm actually taking a lot of damage, and I'm thinking here, uh-oh, did I mess up? Because I know I don't have any deaths left, but I do have a lot of damage now. So the damage kind of makes up for it, especially being that that was the last room of the floor. So I know I'm going to be able to heal right here. This is the last boss, and you see I'm on 26, I'm at 27 minutes, and I didn't even look at the shop, even though I have 800 shards. I knew that I had no time to mess around, because if this boss was a tough boss, I would need all that time. And as you see, this is, in my opinion, the absolute hardest boss for Crusaders. It's extremely hard to dodge the 3-shot poison unless you're at range, right? So the animation for that skill is exactly the same as his single shot. So you can see I'm dodging the single shot pretty good, and I can dodge this stuff pretty good. But when he does that 3-shot poison, if you're in melee, you take all 3 and you die. It's a 1-shot. So I'm trying to kite away from his animation to try to predict that 3-shot so that I can actually dodge it, which is really hard to do. I hate this boss. Like when I see this boss in Fractured, I get extremely pissed off. Because when you're trying to kite away and dodge, you're not dealing damage, right? Because you're a melee character, and so you're wasting time. And my timer's not even up here. I know that I finished this run just over 28 minutes, so I was able to kill this boss in like under 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. Because what we had just under 27 or just over 27 minutes when we started this. Oh, you see here. So see, that was just that. Honestly, I predicted the shot, but I didn't micro properly and I got hit. And look how low I am. I was so scared I was going to fail the run and I was going to have to do this damn thing again. Because I wanted to make a video out of this run because I thought it was a good run. And I was like, if I die here, I'm going to be so pissed off. Yeah, I mean, this was super hectic. I was desperately trying not to lose here. And luckily I got it down. So it looks like it was 29. So that wasn't, that was me skipping all the rooms. I got pretty lucky on my essences and my upgrade path was good. And I still took me 29 minutes. This was actually a really fun Fractured Plane. Hopefully this was fun for you guys to get to do this Fractured Plane journey with me. Hopefully you learned something from it. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them. I respond to every comment, unless it's just trolling me, in which case I don't respond to that. But typically everybody in the community has been really awesome. And, it's really cool to bounce ideas off each other and learn how to get better in the games we play. Thank you guys for watching, and happy crusading.